The Senate will convene as a court of impeachment.
Pursuing those witnesses could indefinitely delay the Senate trial and draw our body into a protracted and complex legal fight over presidential privilege.
The McConnell rules seem to be designed by President Trump for President Trump. It asks the Senate to rush through as fast as possible and makes getting evidence as hard as possible.
Think about it. It's common sense. Overwhelming evidence to impeach the President of the United States. And then they come here on the first day and they say, you know what, we need some more evidence.
We are ready to present our case. We are ready to call our witnesses. The question is, will you let us?
They don't make a single argument why there shouldn't be witnesses and documents. That speaks volumes. Thank you.
What are your thoughts? Any comment on your father's impeachment trial? I think there should be witnesses. What are your thoughts? Any comment on your father's impeachment trial?
Why is it better to be here in Davos than in Washington, D.C.?
Well, we're here meeting with world leaders, the biggest, most important people in the world, and we're bringing back tremendous business in the United States, and they're all here to see. The other's just a hoax. It's the witch hunt that's been going on for years.
Who has just taken the oath and will present the oath book to him for signature.
The House of Representatives has voted to impeach the President of the United States for only the third time in American history. Donald J. Trump is charged with abusing his power and obstructing Congress. Now the Senate must decide whether they will convict him and remove him from power. A lot has happened to get us to this point. Let's look back at how it all began. By now, you know the story. President Trump freezes military aid to Ukraine. In July, he speaks with the Ukrainian president by phone and asks him to investigate a political rival, Joe Biden. Shortly after, the Inspector General of the intelligence community, Michael Atkinson, receives a whistleblower complaint. It alleges President Trump pressured Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 election, and the White House tried to cover it up. Atkinson sends the complaint to the acting director of national intelligence, Joseph McGuire, and this is where things break down. The whistleblower law says the director shall send the complaint to Congress, but McGuire does not do that. This complaint is different than most. It involves McGuire's boss, the President of the United States, and his conversations with a foreign leader. And those discussions may be subject to executive privilege, being withheld from the public for purposes of national security or to protect internal deliberations.
A privilege that I do not have the authority to waive.
So instead of sending the complaint to Congress, McGuire asks the White House for guidance.
You went to the subject of the complaint for advice first about whether you should provide the complaint to Congress.
I believe that everything here in this matter is totally unprecedented.
McGuire forwards the complaint to the Justice Department. At this point, the process stalls. This is when Inspector General Atkinson tips off Congress about the existence of the complaint, and the House of Representatives starts to investigate. There's a series of leaks, and the accusations within the complaint are made public. This puts pressure on the White House, and President Trump confirms that he discussed Joe Biden on his call with the Ukrainian president.
That call was a great call. It was a perfect call.
A perfect call.
With that, the House launches an impeachment inquiry.
The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
The next day, the White House declassifies a rough transcript of the call, and the whistleblower complaint is sent to Congress. House Democrats begin to subpoena employees of the executive branch, threatening contempt citations if they don't show up. The White House pushes back, saying the entire process is unconstitutional and violates the president's right to due process.
The resolution is adopted without objection. The motion to reconsider is laid upon the table.
So the House formalizes its inquiry with a vote that predictably falls along party lines and holds a series of private and public hearings.
I found the July 25th phone call unusual because, in contrast to other presidential calls I had observed, it involved discussion of what appeared to be a domestic political matter.
I had concerns, and it was my duty to report.
Was there a quid pro quo? As I testified previously, with regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes. Everyone was in the loop.
The Constitution says a president can be impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, but it does not define what those terms mean. That is up to Congress, and the House decides to move forward.
The House Committee on the Judiciary is introducing 2 articles of impeachment charging the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, with committing high crimes and misdemeanors.
And it heads to the House floor for debate.
It is tragic that the president's reckless actions make impeachment necessary. He gave us no choice.
In an historic vote, the House of Representatives charges President Trump with abusing his power and obstructing Congress. Now it moves to the Senate for a trial where a 2/3 majority would be needed to convict him and remove him from office. In the meantime, President Trump is up for re-election in 2020, which means Democrats and Republicans must strike an awkward balance between pursuing their constitutional duties and protecting their political careers.